My name is Rachel McDonald. I'm a board member for the Claremont Forum, and we sponsor the Prison Library Project. We began in 1973, and since then we've been sending books and educational materials to incarcerated readers nationwide. We're one of the largest books to prisoners programs in the country. So we're really proud of that. And this is such a neat opportunity for us to increase our impact with the contraband program. So to get us started, I'm going to show premiere our contraband video.
We smuggled a book into women's prisons. But that's not the craziest part of the story. In some prisons in the United States, women are denied access to knowledge about their bodies. The very books meant to educate them are deemed too sexually explicit for prison libraries, while books like Mein Kampf remain on their shelves, putting incarcerated women at higher risk of dying from preventable and treatable conditions. So we decided to smuggle vital education into the hands of these prisoners. We just needed someone on the inside. The Prison Library Project worked hand in hand with an incarcerated woman and former nurse whose name we're keeping anonymous for her safety. We worked together with health literacy experts and med students to create a book called Contraband. It was written specifically for incarcerated women, 70% of whom cannot read at a 4th grade level, covering topics from menstrual health to breast cancer to sexual health. While women's health books can't be sent to inmates, letters can be. Over the course of 3 months, we mailed the book to our source on the inside, page by page. She then stitched the pages together with dental floss from the prison commissary and encouraged fellow inmates to make handwritten copies of their own. As inmates transferred, new copies of the book expanded education across the country, and we're receiving requests for more chapters covering new subjects every day. We will not stop until a federal bill is passed, guaranteeing America's 90,000 incarcerated women have access to books just like this. Visit contraband.us to donate funds for postage, so we can send this book to those who so desperately need it. After all, health problems can't be banned from our prisons. So why are the answers?
Hi, my name is McKenna DeLuca. I'm the programs manager for the Prison Library Project Claremont Forum. I'm here right now, actually, with a lot of our books in the background. So, hello.
I'll jump in. Hi, my name is Dina Peck. I'm the creative lead on Contraband and a health education advocate.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alyssa Berger, and I was one of the writers on the Contraband Project, as well as part of the process of actually, getting it where we needed it to go.
Hi, I'm Susan Andreas. I'm a health literacy specialist that contributed to the project, and I'm super excited to tell you all about it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Kogler, and I am a medical expert. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering, and so education and everything about science education is near and dear to my heart. So excited to talk to you today.
For the first question for the panel is just how are you guys inspired? What was the need? How did this idea come to fruition?
Well, for us, it was really just because we get a lot of requests from people that are incarcerated, both women and men, asking about healthcare because they don't have a lot of access to it. So on top of that, we also don't want to be a program that excludes anybody, so we made this for women, but it can be sent to anyone. And so this is really just to allow access to healthcare for people in prison, out of prison, so they can have knowledge when they are released. And due to all the blocks that have been coming up to send things to people that are incarcerated, particularly in healthcare, we figured this would be the best project to start. A lot of southern states particularly have a lot of rights being taken away from their inmates from people in general. And so we figured this would probably be a great project to have to allow access to those things that they can't get any other place.
And so the purpose group, how did you guys get involved with this project?
Great question. So purpose group is completely committed to health, and everything we work on is related to health. And we're also committed to giving back to community and doing pro bono work, specifically in the areas people who work at the purpose group are passionate about. And so this is actually one of those areas. So after hearing about so many prisons banning women's health and anatomy books, our team was pretty inspired to do something about it and make sure that women could get that information. Additionally, the issue of banning women's health books goes beyond healthcare. It's also about empowerment. It's also about equity. And we believe that health education is a human right. So from the beginning, we thought creatively, how could we actually get these women the education that they needed and deserved? So how could we get this content to them? Since the critical books and information weren't in a lot of these prisons, and obviously a book couldn't be mailed. So mailing a book, letter by letter by letter by letter, page by page by page, and then having it seam together to become a book inside the prison seemed like a way around it and the best way to get this information in the hands of the people who need it most.
You're muted, Rachel.
What are the consequences? You know, we know that women don't have access to medical information. How is this? What are the consequences of this? What do we know in the incarcerated community? What do we know is happening as a result of this problem?
Yeah, so the consequences can really be significant, right? When you think about these women in prisons, they face a host of medical issues, delayed diagnoses, untreated medical conditions, higher rates of chronic illness, and all of this can be because of that lack of access to basic health education. A great example is toxic shock syndrome. We see women being rushed to the infirmary all the time, and all they needed to know is when you take your tampon out. Another example is lack of education on reproductive health issues, which could exacerbate issues such as untreated infections, menstrual health problems, even accessing contraception or prenatal care. And so the impact of this limited access to basic health education and limited health literacy goes beyond just being in the prison, right? When these women are released post-incarceration, they are often equipped with like very little knowledge on how to manage their health post-release. And the result of that can be poor self-care, higher healthcare visits, hospitalizations, and just really poorer prognosis and outcomes for these women. And it's so sad because all of this could have been prevented with just earlier access to basic health education.
Yeah, but how do we, you guys did a great job making contraband accessible to women in prison. Tell us a little bit about the process of, you know, how you structured that book to be accessible to incarcerated women and post-release women who, you know, may have lower educational levels.
Yeah, so health literacy was obviously a huge priority in this project. You'll see on the video in a bit that I think the average reading level for incarcerated women is 4th grade. So even in the general population, we know that health content is easiest to understand at about a 6th to 8th grade level. And that's not because most people have that education. It's just because it's been shown that that's when it's easiest to understand health content, which you can forget or is hard to use or, you know, anything like that. So we took really special care to make sure that we were presenting this content in really digestible bits, making sure that we used plain language, making sure the visuals we use really helped to, to illustrate the points. The other thing, of course, is that some women enter the system even before adulthood. So they don't even really understand information about puberty and, how their health is changing. So they've never before had access to reliable health content about themselves. And I think this book does an amazing job, both giving them literally access to the book, but also access to information that's reliable and that they can understand.
Yeah, and when we thought about the information that they need, we also needed to think about the unique barriers that, these women were facing. And so a big part of the book is also dedicated to giving them information about their own health rights that they have within the prison and making sure that they're getting access to those. And then if they're not getting access to those, how they can go about, taking some legal action.
How did the creative process work? It's a very interesting looking book. It's unique as a reference book. It definitely stands out. How did you come up with the ideas and kind of the creative process to package this book in a way that appealed to incarcerated women?
So the book was largely inspired by zines, which for those who don't know, they're essentially DIY self-published booklets that people put together on a variety of topics and they put out themselves. And so that's something that is very much present in prisons as well, because if you think about the fact that incarcerated individuals don't have access to information they need, health information, for instance, then those who do have access may want to spread around that information. So they, let's say we have one woman who does have that education, she may hand write down all of the information that she has and then share that with other incarcerated individuals. And so that was the sort of look and feel. We really wanted it, as Susan mentioned, the health literacy of this is so crucial. And so it needed to also look easy to read. It didn't just need to be easy to read. It needed to be simple and easy to read. So we took that into consideration. And we also just wanted it to be beautiful. These women deserve to feel empowered and respected. And so we wanted to give them something that felt valuable and special for them, especially knowing that they weren't getting that information.
How did you prioritize what information to put in the book?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So, I think one of the great things about working at this company is that we have students from some of the top universities studying for pharmacy or medical school who are with us for a couple of months. So I've worked with some of those students on my team to really do some in-depth research and understand the perspectives of the people who matter the most, right? The ones we are talking to. So we had input from women who were actually incarcerated to understand what are some of the health topics that are important to them that they need education on. We also got data from healthcare professionals who work in prison settings to understand what are some specific knowledge gaps among incarcerated women. We used all of that information to write that first draft of what are those specific health topics to cover. And we collaborated with Alyssa from a creative perspective, Susan from a health literacy perspective to ensure that the end result we had was clear, making the science very simple, that it was friendly and ultimately empowering and meeting the real experiences and needs of the women who are incarcerated.
Very cool. Well, we know that you have this amazing book. So how did you get it into the hands of incarcerated women? That's the interesting story. So who can share that?
I'll jump in there. So as Dina was talking about at the beginning, and as you'll see in the video, we were able to get the book to these incarcerated folks by sending it as letters. And so the book itself is basically every letter is 4 pages itself. So if you think about that, the book is 250-ish pages. So that was over 60 letters that we had to send. So it took several months to get the book into, you know, the women's hands. We were really thoughtful about the order that we actually sent it in because we wanted to make sure that it was going to be easy to put together. We also had to be thoughtful though, if let's say some pages get stopped, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the prison system. We wanted to make sure that if they're not getting all the pages, every page on its own would be really valuable in helping to provide that education. So we thought about that, and then we also thought about the fact that they're not going to be able to just staple this book together. You know, they don't have access to a stapler or a hole punch or anything like that. So the pages that we sent have tiny little holes in them, so it could be stitched together, let's say with thread from sewing or dental floss, anything like that. So, you know, unique considerations you wouldn't think through when you're putting together a book usually.
It's fascinating, the creativity of using, you know, dental floss or something to put together the book. So what have we been hearing? McKenna, this is probably a question for you. What's some of the feedback that we've been getting now that Contraband's out in the wild?
I mean, it's like all of the letters that we receive and thank yous of just how much it's helped. But it's even more so dedicated to all the women, you know, who are writing to us saying that they never had access to healthcare before, that they have to go through these extremely traumatizing things in their life. Even for something as simple as going through a checkup, you know, they get chained, they have to, you know, have very uncomfortable procedures happen to them while being watched by someone that's like a prison guard, or, you know, even, you know, a friend there would be helpful, but this is like their own version of having a friend, so that now they know that they can feel comfortable having these things done because they can do them themselves. And so some of the quotes, I actually have some of them from women that have written to us of, you know, there was a nurse that helped us write some of this, or actually distribute some of this. And, you know, she got asked by other women that were incarcerated about how to drink something to expel a baby so that she, you know, could have her own abortion and have abortion care. And multiple women had asked her that. It wasn't just one woman. And she wrote to us saying, thank you for being one of none who actually care about our right to have knowledge about our bodies, to like actual quote from her. We had a lot of women write to us about, you know, access to education about eating disorders, since they have no treatment for that in prison. This is the first time that they've ever been able to read anything about it, to have anything to understand what they're going through. Same with partner violence. That was a huge thing that people talked about that helped them, because this isn't just a physical health book. This is also about mental health, LGBTQ health. That's why we wanted to be accessible to so many different people. But yeah, another quote from somebody said, thank you so much for filling in educational gaps that I have in my state. They're deliberately being left out, and it's much needed. There's just so many things in the letters that we've been receiving from these women that just talk about all of the horrible things that they've gone through in prison trying to get access to any form of healthcare. And this is the first time ever that anyone's ever sat down and tried to explain something to them, and in a way that they can also teach each other.
So from a healthcare perspective, if we give women the information, how does that impact, you know, health outcomes? What do we have any evidence that that can, you know, actually improve the woman journey through healthcare, and can she experience more success when she does get the limited medical care that sometimes is available in the prisons?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that one. I think educational resources like Contraband helps these women by not only getting the information that they need, certainly in the states that it's banned, but actually having the accurate health information, and as close to a fourth grade level as Susan was talking about. And what that means is it's just improved health literacy. It means that you're going to actually understand the information that is being that you're reading. So when it comes to health outcomes, contraband can educate people on the topics that they need to know about, right? So Angela mentioned whether it becomes related to menstrual disorders or things of that nature. It lets them be knowledgeable to become advocates for their own healthcare within the prison system, and then even after they leave. So I think that's something that the book is actually doing, making sure that they have those healthcare strategies that can improve their overall well-being. And by doing that, it can also help prevent future health disorders, right? If you're an advocate for something for yourself and you feel comfortable and knowledgeable enough, that makes a big difference. I also would say that the book alone and the name brings attention to the lack of access and how important it is for women in the prison system to have that. So using that play on words of contraband versus the book title, Contraband, we're reclaiming that word, right? We're empowering these folks with health information and really saying that if this information shouldn't be treated as illicit, it shouldn't be treated as forbidden, because as I said earlier, it should be a human right. So, you know, our hope is that Contraband is in all prison libraries, potentially with a different name, once this has been fully launched, but to reduce the health disparities that actually exist and provide the information that may not even be available in the prison medical services. So, you know, from our standpoint, the reintegration post-release, which Alyssa also mentioned, is really important. And we know that the more that people have a good understanding of their health, the more they can be advocates for their health, the more they can seek medical care and feel confident about it. And then more that they can maintain healthier lifestyles in general, inside or outside of prison. It was a long-winded answer, but
That's
wanted to
why.
cover different things.
Well, what are
Good
some
to learn.
steps that we can do to help Contraband get into the prisons? Maybe not in the toothpaste and envelope method, but getting it actually accepted as a resource.
I
You
mean,
know,
that's literally what we do. You know, that's our whole bread and butter here, is figuring out how to get people access to things, particularly education, whether that's, you know, regular reading or if that's healthcare. You know, so I think, you know, for us, a lot of our next steps are just extending where we're going to send the book to, and kind of making sure that we're really focusing in on the states that ban these even more, you know. Like I said earlier, the South bans a lot of stuff. I mean, that's something that we deal with here all the time, whether that's healthcare or otherwise. So that's definitely something that we're going to be watching for a lot, is where are these bans happening and how to get this into, you know, their libraries. You know, a lot of strict censorship laws, and we really want to draw attention to that. That's really what this is about. This whole project is to draw attention to, you know, what's happening in the country and in the world. And a lot of things that people can do to help us with that would be, you know, donating to us, paying attention to what we post, donating for postage. That's a really big thing. That's something that we, you know, we need access to be able to send this to people that are incarcerated. We have to, you know, print things, send them one by one until we can actually, you know, repeal the censorship laws that are going on in the country. We do have the petition on the website. We have that on there. Yes. Yeah.
yes, we do. And the end screen will also put that up, but you can find that at contraband.us. Definitely sign the petition and share the information. It happens to be not on accident that we launched Contraband this week, because it's Prison Banned Book Week. And there's a nationwide effort for all of the prison book programs to, you know, call attention to sometimes the random, arbitrary, and unfair bans that are existing in our prisons today. it's been interesting and wild ride this week because our prison book program friends and community have mentioned more bans than ever. There are prisoners or prisons that are just cutting off access to books unilaterally, any book. They're no longer taking
Physical.
used books or donations. They go to you know, tablet forms, and those are often expensive. There was a great, in terms of medical knowledge, a new, Grey's Anatomy kind of medical book is still banned, but a 1893 household remedies book is still available on the tablet for free. So, if you, I don't even know what you'd learn there, but maybe boiling hot water if you're congested or something might be one of the best advice that
even
you
do,
can
can't even boil water. So
yeah, that's true too. So, just the timeliness of this as this week has unfolded has been amazing. So what have we not covered?
Us in what we're doing and anything like that. It's our way of trying to get into, I guess, lobbying for something to actually change. Because this is one way of changing things, is like smuggling them in, but it's a whole other thing when we have, state and federal government on our side. So the whole petition is to repeal any kind of content censorship policies from prisons for things particularly like this. We got pictures out of here from the 1800s, and yet it's still something that we can't send. It's from medical textbooks from the 1800s, and that's too much for them to allow into prisons. But they allow Mein Kampf, that's allowed. We're allowed to talk about that kind of stuff. And another big portion of what this is for is to gain support for the Prison Libraries Act, so that we can allow more access to prison libraries for people that are incarcerated, and to improve the materials that they also get for those libraries. We signed on to it last year. I got support from Rachel, our president. And then, we need more movement on that. We don't really have a lot of traction federally, so we really need some eyeballs on that for sure.
Well, ladies, I thank you all, not only for being here in my very technically glitchy webinar, but just the time and your talent in putting this together is so appreciated. It truly is an important project, and we are over the moon to be part of it, but you guys knocked it out of the park in terms of
Really
the
making it
quality of that book. I know we have copies in our bookstore, and people are very excited to look through it. You can also at ClaremontForum.org, we have a link so you can download your own copy and check it out. And maybe you have someone that you can smuggle it into, or just go down to the warden and say, hey, this is valuable information, and we want the prisoners to have access to it. There's no reason that this is considered contraband in the first place. So again, just so grateful for all your hard work and sharing what you've done today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. And look on our website and Contraband US to see that video.
And on our social media as well. It's on Instagram,
Exactly.
etc.
It'll be everywhere, I promise. But thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having us.